It just depends on when we get our first frost and what the weather's like in the fall. But I would also argue that if you do move it to October 1st, it would probably benefit, because right around there is about the time soybeans start. Okay, and there is a lot of soybeans and corn in it, and once they get into soybeans, they don't want to take time to go mow ditches. Okay, and then they go right from soybeans to corn. So, but you don't want to cut them too early either. If you cut them at the end of September and everything's still growing, you're going to get a couple more inches of growth before the winter. You know, so you can argue both sides.
Oh yeah, I just, you know, it's nice to get it off, because, you know, the deer, you can't see them deer coming out of the ditch. Boy, it's a booger.
There's some that are really tall.
Right.
Oh yeah. Well, we've had good moisture.
Yeah.
You know, and it grows fast. I would guess there's some happy hay guys.
Oh, you can make some good hay.
Oh yeah.
I've been doing that.
But
That's Brian's job.
you know, we can get Jason in, and when Jason's done, I do have one thing, and I want to have Janelle Pepley come up. So if Jason wants to come in, let's get Jason in here.
Come on in, Jason.
Yep, and when Janelle, if you guys think of something here that you need to ask me, fire away. I'm going to have Janelle come up in a little bit. And Jason, I did get that email.
You did?
Yes, I did. Out of the 27 bridges in Wells County, there's 2 that are in the poor condition. Everything else is good or fair.
How about that scour A though?
Yeah.
I'll have to look at that.
I'll forward it to you. I just didn't have time.
Well, I'll kind of run through this as fast as I can.
It came yesterday afternoon, just like you said it would. I just hadn't checked it when I spoke to you yesterday afternoon.
It'd be good for you all to probably browse through this. This is the guidance they're giving for the flex fund. It's 8 pages. I guess I'm just gonna blanket through it a little bit. There is, if you go to page 3, I guess, it breaks down the percentages of what the flex fund is. So there's near the top there in the background, if you see, it's 13.5% is going to township grants, 19.5% to county and city grants, non-oil, and then 17.5% goes to bridges, and then 28.5% is the formula distribution, which I'll cover briefly, kind of what your distribution is going to look like. We kind of, I'm sure Dan might already have all this, but we tried to summarize it because it's a monthly distribution thing going on. And then 21% goes to DOT, which sounds like some of that might come back to the counties, but we don't really know yet. And then on top of that, if you go to the next paragraph there, it talks about prairie dog grants. So what we understand of it now, and this is a very preliminary guidance, just so you know, I think there's going to be another one coming out. But on top of that, once we send in all the flex fund applications, they're going to have grants for prairie dog as well. So they haven't given us really any numbers on what that looks like. It does, if you go to, I believe, the very last sheet, yes, the very last sheet, about halfway down it says prairie dog has grants. It says there's going to be $40 million in municipal infrastructure funds, so for city funds, and then another $40 million in county and township infrastructure funds. And as far as we understand that, that's in addition to all the flex fund grants. And what they plan to do is take our flex fund applications, the ones that are not awarded but are highly rated, and start dishing out the money for those as well. So they did it the right way, where it looks like it's all going to be combined. This packet's really well broken down. I guess they give us a lot of what the scoring is going to look like for each type of project, as well for the townships too. It really breaks it down. I guess if you go to sheet 4,
Yeah, where the scoring is less than 17 mils, very low. Right.
So mill levy, these are for the township
Yeah.
projects, so not so much for this group, but mill levy affects it. How much is in the general fund for the townships is going to affect it. Whether they've already been funded for PE, which I don't think there were a whole lot of townships that did. And then on down the line there, it kind of shows how much funding they are hoping to see. Obviously, they're giving a high rating to very highly locally funded projects. So if you can find 50% of for the project, obviously they're rating that higher, which I kind of assumed. I didn't realize the number would be 50%, but that's where they're putting it. If you go to, I guess for you guys, the biggest thing would be page 5 is where the grants for the counties start. The total is $44.85 million. It says approximately 50% will be awarded to non-oil counties, 25 to small cities, and 25 to large cities. The Flex Fund is due September 19th. The application is due September 19th. Minimum cost is $250,000. And then if you go to the sheet after that, where the table is, this is kind of where we need to figure out where you guys want to be. This is how they're scoring it. So if it was previously funded for PE, which does not apply to you guys, but there were some projects that the preliminary engineering funded, that helps. Roadway network, so it says closes a gap in the existing network. So basically anything that's, if you have 2 paved roads and you got a county road in between them, sounds like that's something you really want to look at. Obviously, if there's 2 state highways and you got a county road in between them, you know,
Old 52.
like Old 52 or Highway or County Road 5 as well, they're looking at that type of thing. The safety aspect, it gets a little tougher now because it talks about removing roadway limitations. That's easy enough, you know. If you say you have an 80,000 pound road and you're going 105.5, so it kind of goes way back to what that was when they originally wanted to upgrade those roads. ADA improvements, a lot of the counties aren't going to have that even as an aspect, but I guess if there was a shared use path or something like that, they're rating that higher. The next one down is multimodal, so if you're adding if it's an in-town portion of CMC route, they're going to be looking for adding sidewalks and bike lanes and things like that. It was going to help. LPA coordination, I guess that's, again, kind of working with the cities too is going to help if there's something there that can be done. Reducing needs for maintenance, obviously from gravel to pavement or something like that would probably then definitely help that. The next one down is if it's bid ready or not, which obviously here you guys aren't going to have anything ready to go when we apply here. But in the future, having a project designed and ready to go for bid, they're scoring now, which I wish they would have told us that the last time around, but I guess they're telling us now. I don't even think they had this figured out the last time around. Project expansion, and then it shows funding. So if they're looking for 50% or greater to get in the high, but obviously that's not going to work for most of the counties. But that medium there, they're saying less than 50% is going to put us in a medium. No funding at all is going to put us in a low. So kind of a vague breakdown still, doesn't really fully help you, but at least there's something there to look at now. If you look at the next sheet then, sheet 7 is the bridge grant portion. There's $40.25 million there to start. Approximately 10% will be spent on bridge removal projects, 90% on rehabs and reconstructions. One important thing they wanted us to point out was that only construction and construction engineering costs will be eligible. So preliminary engineering design costs, survey design costs are the responsibility of the county. So you have to keep that in mind when you're applying, that you're not required to pitch in any for construction or construction engineering, but that the county's gonna have to cover 100% of the preliminary engineering. And then you can kind of see the scoring there too. And I'm breezing through this very quickly, but you can kind of see how they're gonna score the bridges. Obviously, bridge condition, and being on a CMC route's gonna be number one. Where the bridge condition is, where the load rating is, and then that scour plan of action, those categories that kind of came out there.
I'm just looking at that now.
The category A's are going to be high, so essentially my assumption is this first go around, it's going to be prudent to have our application, any bridges we're looking to replace, that they're in the category A, I think is definitely going to help. And then they want them prioritized. In the email that Brent just got yesterday, I got it sent to me from a few other road soups as well. They're asking for a ranking from the county of 1 to 5 for highest priority for rehab or reconstruction. And then they also want a ranking of 1 to 5 for bridge removal. So they are actually looking for the county to prioritize their bridges, which I like. We've been asking for that because in the past they've just chosen what they want. So they're looking for you guys to kind of rank those priorities and obviously award based on that. You know, my assumption is they're going to try to get a bridge project to every county type of thing is what they're going to try to do right away here. That's the way, with the priority list, that's the way I see it. So we should look, and him and I can look at the scour category, find a category A bridge that makes the most sense potentially to go after. So there's a lot of information there, obviously. It'd be helpful to kind of know what they're looking at. And hopefully I'm not stepping on your toes here, Dan, but we kind of looked at the funding that was sent out. We got the spreadsheet given to us, but just based on what they sent us, between the highway tax and you're going to get an initial flex fund distribution here in August, and then starting after that you're going to get a monthly distribution all the way through 2026, and you will also get a prairie dog distribution in 25 and a separate one in 26. But with that total funding, Wells County adds up to about $4.7 million.
That was some good news today, huh?
So how does that compare to last biennium?
It's higher because there's an element of flex that is not grant based. So we're going to get a substantial payment in August, and then we'll have monthly payments going forward. Now, when it comes to Prairie Dog, it's exactly what we talked about.
It's
going to be, there's a huge percentage taken off the top because they shrunk that bucket.
Right.
Where we were getting 1.8 million, it's going to be 1.2, but you'll only get half of that in 26.
And the rest the next year?
Hopefully.
Well, that's projected.
But when they send this out, they don't miss the part that says, this can all go away tomorrow too.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
And these are preliminary numbers, but
yeah.
I was surprised by
This
this.
will help like crazy.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it will, maybe it won't. We've just got to cut $600,000 out of Prairie Dog, just the flex fund.
This is what we
More
got
than
this
that.
time. Yeah, we got
That was
this.
my question.
Yeah. But now,
Yeah.
going forward, they shrunk the bucket.
And I think
They
we've got-
got ahead in line, but they shrunk the bucket, so it's gonna be like 1.2 million, and if you split it out in the years, it's
Yeah, but I think
600,000.
that's on that flex fund.
Yeah, because it shows the 2026.
Which is a better deal,
630.
if you don't have to rely on Prairie Dog. Well, the prices stay at $48, the Prairie Dog ain't gonna
That
get more.
600,000 thing might have went to flex fund, is what you're
All right, Dan, at the end of the day, total dollars amount, will the flex fund increase by more than the 600,000 that we lost to Prairie Dog?
Right now, yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
We don't have
That's
that.
You
good.
don't have any of these, okay.
Is that good?
Well, I mean, that's good for you as well.
Until it comes together.
There's some beans and some seeds.
Right.
That's probably like I
Everything
said.
gets moved around and changed, I mean.
wow, that isn't until the next legislative
But
session.
this is what I referenced when I said it's not gonna buy your fuel, it's not gonna buy you, pay your employees' salaries. You have to actually build something with it.
Yeah, I didn't know because I don't.
We never tend to have problems doing that.
Well, where we have problems is paying for everything else, paying for the stuff we have to pay for.
I honestly don't know if you got it or not.
Okay, well, we gotta move on. You got anything else there, Jason?
So I guess, yeah, we need to get started on these flex fund applications, so I guess I would like you guys to start discussing kind of where your priorities are. Bridge-wise, I don't know how much input you're gonna have for Brent, him and I.
What are the two bridges that they say are in?
It's the structure number, and I don't have the structure number. I don't have which structure. I don't have that breakdown. There's two, I believe.
Those might be the two that, those
Gravel
might be
road?
the two that were given funding and then switched.
Moving it over, yeah. I think the two that are listed as poor are the two gravel road bridges that we got funding for a couple years ago that are moving over. We do not have any A category scour, which you can explain to these guys,
No, you mentioned.
which A is the highest priority, correct?
It means it's most likely to scour, they categorize most likely to scour during a flood event.
Yep.
So when there's no flood event, that scour category doesn't mean anything, but as soon as there's a flood event, there's a flood warning, it triggers how often it has to be inspected and all of that, which we can keep tabs on going forward. It's something we should have been doing years ago, I guess, and the state wasn't really doing it, and now the feds are coming down hard on it, so we have to start taking, keeping tabs on that.
It would be nice to know definitively that the two bridges that have been identified are the two that we're already
Yeah,
trying
yeah,
to
it
find a
just,
solution.
I don't have the structure number with the bridge memorized in my head. It just
The
gives
one
me the
on
structure.
north of town and the one over by.
I do believe that the three bridges here, are, the two bridges that are poor are the two gravel road bridges, and I can get that information quick. It just gives me the structure number, and I don't have them memorized. But I do believe that those are the two. The other 25 bridges, as far as everything on here, are either good, satisfactory, or fair. They are doing more bridge inspections this year. We are in the odd number of years, and I know they're not done with their bridge inspections yet. So this is liable to change a little bit. But there are 3 of the 27 bridges that have posted load limits, and I know that the 2 that on the gravel roads have posted load limits, and the one up here on County 1 has a posted load limit. The other 24 bridges, it says open, no restrictions. So that's why I'm sure it's those 2 on the gravel roads that are poor.
So anyway, we don't have to solidify anything today as far as, I think Brent and I can work on bridge.
Yeah, you
The ranking, he did bring up some of the diversion bridges potentially as being removals. So it's something I'd like you guys to discuss, because in the future they are gonna be very costly, and they're wanting a removal list. I think this priority list is something they're gonna use for years to come now, so it's kind of a start to trying to prioritize.
So they should be on the list early.
Well, the thing is we have, many diversion bridges coming through Wells County that have been here for 40 years now, okay? And when they start to break down where we got, all of a sudden, we're not getting good inspection, what's the purpose of fixing a bridge when the diversion, they're trying to get rid of it? It's done.
Yeah.
You knock the bridge in, you build the road through it.
But don't you have to put a culvert in? 'Cause there's some right away with the, I don't know, I'm
Yeah.
just saying, we gotta make sure of that.
I would assume you probably have to put culverts in.
At least one type of.
But still, putting a couple pipe in is a heck of a lot.
Oh,
cheaper.
I know, and it's less headache.
So we were talking, it's like, well, when these bridges come up and when they start to get, but if there's funding there to remove some bridges,
Right. Yeah, exactly, that'd be the place to
Get rid of them. They hold snow
should be
worse than
ahead of the
anything in
game
the
there.
world. You know, you start removing some of these diversion bridges that are winter roads that plug up with snow every
Right,
day.
yeah, snow and moving equipment across them, with
Yeah.
the guardrails, you know?
Because the diversion is no longer, you know, I mean, they offered you guys to buy it.
There'll be an opportunity to get living there.
Yeah.
So it's something to discuss, and we can go over bridges, but I guess my request to you today would be to, so we can start going on some applications, we only got a couple months here. We kinda need a priority list as to what you guys wanna try to apply for here as far as road projects.
What
We want that at our August meeting.
We have
correct?
already described them, they're in your minutes on the first page
Yeah.
from last month, and they are Old 52 and Wells County 1.
Yeah.
So 71 is a joke?
It's not a joke, but it's beyond a overlay.
Is it?
I think it is. When it's described as being in tough a shape as it is, with the soft spots, I suspect it is.
Yeah.
I'm not an authority on it, but I've listened to in what poor condition it is for so long that it,
Well, I think Old 52 is priority one. And I think we should come up with a plan as to what we want to apply for Old 52. And like Dan says, one next. I don't want anybody to think that I want to grind up and get rid of 71, but I also look at, it goes to a wide farm to market road in the next county. And to spend $4, $5, $6 million to pave a road that is, when you get out of Wells County, it's a wide farm to market gravel road.
Is that paved on the other end?
Yep.
Yeah, there's 7.5 or 8 miles of,
How many miles of gravel is there?
is it 15?
No, there's 7 from.
7, yeah. 7, there's 7 of gravel between the end of our highway and the start of their highway that comes up on.
It sounds like Carroll County needs to get on the stick here and get that paved. Well, that was a high priority, is connecting. That's the big issue now, that pavement goes to gravel. If that was all pavement, there'd be more of an incentive for
I
us to
can
fix
tell you
that up.
as Kidder County's, well, I'm not Kidder County's engineer, but our Bismarck office is,
Yeah.
that's not a very high priority on their list, so.
See, Burley County's the same deal, you go north of Driscoll, you got pavement for a ways, and when you get up far enough up to the arena, then you get pavement.
Well,
And that was the connection there, but
you know, there was an incentive to connect some of that
If
stuff.
it was connectable, it would make more sense.
It would make more sense.
We can bring that up next month at Kidder County.
Yeah,
once
twist
we-
their arm, tell them that,
Well, my guess is we're gonna get the answer that we're never paving that 7 miles because they can't afford the miles they have either. So,
worth a try though.
but we'll have that discussion.
I mean, I don't want it to be out that I think 71 is a useless road or whatever. That's not the case, but I think we all know that we're talking about money that, you know, it's 71 is not a high priority. I'm not saying it's not a priority, it's just not our highest priority right now. I can honestly say that, you know.
Well, I gotta ask this question, and it sounds stupid, but like we did on 5, that overlay, I hate to tell you, but that turned out darn good. If we fixed soft spots and overlaid that, wouldn't that be an option?
And that's what I have. Do you guys have this sheet?
Yeah, you gave it to him last time.
Okay.
If you take a look at that sheet, I do show a 1-inch level with 2-inch overlay with some patching at about 2.2 million in a few years, I guess, on that road.
See, that would be more,
That's the cost, but that's 2.2 million. Can you afford 2.2 million in the next 5 years on that road? The other-
You know, I drove on it last week and I had never driven on it in a few years. In my opinion, it's not as in bad shape or as rough as I thought it would be.
in the spring it's rough.
Yeah, in the winter, it's rough.
Well, it's rough now.
All highways are rough, state highways are rough. So
It's not, you know, I was expecting spots that were broken up and you had to slow down and no, it's,
like Bremen was.
70%.
It's no rougher than the 7 miles we did on 5 last year.
And that was rough before we did.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Is it?
70% of our dirt passing was repairing that highway so there was no broken up
Well,
spots
and
last year.
I don't question that.
Down south.
Down south, absolutely.
But if we're gonna make it an 80,000 pound road or a 105.5,
Didn't you-
if we would do this over within 5 years.
If you
We
were
can't
talking
afford
about what
105.
Jason's talking about, basically the mill and fill, like what you
Yeah,
guys did over.
that's 80,000 pound
State
road.
80.
Hey,
Right.
What is the road north of Pheasant here up to the bridge, what's that one rated at?
80,
That one's rough too.
that's County 1, that's
Yep,
the
yep,
second
yep,
priority.
yep, that-
The only roads that we have at 105.5 are the roads over by Bremen and south of Sykes.
Right.
So what's Highway 30?
Well, I'm sure
105.5.
105.5.
All state highways.
All state highways are
State.
105.5.
State,
Yeah.
that's a state.
But there's very few state highways that don't have at least 8 inches of mix on them, and there's almost no county roads with 8 inches.
So we're looking at
Right.
52, number one, number two, and then probably 7, 3.
Yeah, I mean, that or maybe 4 if you wanna talk about the middle part of 5, because of the traffic there, if you wanna prioritize the middle part of 5. You did the 7 over there, you're getting 1.5 miles on the other end, so there's 10 miles in the middle. Okay, so do you wanna prioritize, or make that a 3rd priority and 71 the 4th? Irregardless, I think we need to get a plan together for
Yeah.
at least our top 2 priorities, correct, Jason?
Yeah, because the biggest thing is you've gotta put some local funding into this, or
Oh,
it's,
yeah,
you know,
exactly.
we're wasting our time putting in an application, and if it only has 10% local funding on it, so really for you guys for next meeting, and hopefully even before that, I'd like to get started on at least I don't need the numbers for funding, but I at least need to know what our top, let's say, 2 are, so we can get
Well,
started
you
on the
can
rest
tell
of
you
it.
that.
The funding.
It's old 52 and it's,
But what do you wanna do with those 52? What do you wanna apply for?
I have, from our discussion when we had our bid, the 3 of us discussed, we had a 1-inch mill with a 2.5 inch overlay on old 52. I had around 4.5 million for the entire thing, which it makes sense to do it all at once if you're gonna do it. So then it's how much can you put in for local funding into that, what that percentage is, and then how much, if you put in that, how much is left over, I mean, those are the numbers I would say for next meeting I would need is, picking the routes is great for me today, but then figuring out the funding, because that has to be shown on it, I need that for next meeting, I guess, so we can kind of.
And I would assume for County 1, you have basically the same plan as old 52?
Yes, yeah, but only for that 8 miles.
For that 8 miles.
1 inch wide, 1 inch level. I didn't think we needed to mill on that.
that's the way to
One-inch
go
level
from here
and
on
2-inch
out.
overlay.
We can't afford that.
One triangle, overlay.
So,
And we
I'd
got
say at 80,000 or anything.
County Road 1, I have at 1.9 million.
Which one?
County Road 1,
Oh.
that 8 miles would be, I have a 1-inch level. I don't have milling on that. I have 1-inch level and 2-inch overlay at about 1.9 million.
so I guess, would you want him to go forward and start the paperwork for grants for Old 52 and County Road 1 with the milling and the overlay on Old 52 and the 1-inch leveling and the 2-inch overlay on County 1? And then by the beginning of August, you have to give him some solid numbers on what the county's percentage would be able to pay.
And that's what we have to work on then, Dan.
It'll take every ounce to come up with $3 million, but that's exactly what it's gonna take.
Yeah.
So,
Well, both of them you're talking?
yes.
Wow.
But
That's 2 priorities, we don't necessarily have to do both.
we accept one.
Odds are we'll
And
be
honestly-
awarded both.
We'll get awarded.
They're showing 50% as high priority. I don't anticipate, very few counties are gonna come up with 50% for many projects. Obviously, that's gonna give you a huge leg up. If you can find it, even for one job, I would say let's try to get anywhere from 30 to 50% on one of the jobs, you know, we can apply for others at 10, 20%. There's gonna be plenty of counties putting applications in for 10 to 20%.